You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
I'm not ready to end the fight. I'm not ready to back down. 'Cause I've been through hell and I don't have time to go around. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. 'Cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
Well, hello everybody. This is the Jenn Rick Show. I'm one half of the crew, Rick. She's the other half, Jen. We're going to spend about the next hour talking to you about things that matter in the news, things we think are funny, things that NASA may or may not have screwed up on, and whether or not we have two candidates that have already possibly potentially committed treason. That's right, not just one, possibly two. But we're going to get to all that and more on this particular episode of Jenn and Rick, and I'm going to take a second to let my co-host say good evening. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing good. Just, as always, hanging out, watching all this crud go down.
Watching all the drama, man.
All the drama.
So, something, and this is kind of an audible because we didn't talking about this, but it's big in the news right now. Something that I just really am really kind of perturbed about, okay? So we've had all these different chances where Congress could have stood up to Obama and said, no, we really want this to happen, so it doesn't matter that you vetoed it. We're going to stand up and make sure that the people's voice is heard, and we're going to veto you on important things, like possibly maybe Obamacare or, the internet thing that's going on right now. But no. They couldn't do any of that. What they decided to do is there's been a bill that's been floating around Congress for a few weeks now that has made it possible, or the bill would have made it possible, for the family members of 9/11 victims to sue the country of Saudi Arabia. Now, on the face of it, this is one of those little chest puff moments where you're like, oh, great, good things for Americans. Saudi Arabia was evil. They were behind all this stuff, and that's a good thing, right? I mean, they should be able to get reparations. Notice I said reparations. Let's not forget there's another body right now that says the United States owes reparations to a certain group of people for upending their lives hundreds of years ago, having their relatives brought over here, etc. This is one of those unintended consequences type scenarios that I really don't think anybody has thought through. Just saying.
Yeah, I don't think so either. All of these things, I don't know. With Obama, it just seems like what he chooses and what this Congress then chooses to really fight on or not. And, there's different wings, I think, in the Republican Party and Congress. There's the kind of what typically we've described as the establishment wing that kind of compromises, rolls over, would be what a lot of people would use. Or otherwise...
I prefer the term bends over, but that's okay.
Bends over. Engages with the Democrats in a positive manner, and tries to compromise and be bipartisan, and not go too hard against. That's how it feels. That's how it seems, and I think that's one of those many things that led us to Trump. And then there's the faction of the Republican Party that constantly fights anything and everything, and sometimes not even for a good reason. Sometimes it's just because it's Obama. So in this situation, we've got the entire Senate, except for one, that votes, to override a veto. And I think that in recent memory is one of the most cooperative actions taken by this group of people that I've seen in a long time. And it just was kind of interesting to me. And I think, a lot of it has to do with the emotions of the recent passing of the 15-year mark of 9/11.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. Let me put my pragmatist hat on, because, it sounds great. 15th anniversary, Congress finally did something that they view to be constructive, but let's dissect this a little bit, because who's really going to see the most money out of deals like this? It's going to be the attorneys. It's going to be the same law firms that donate to these people day in and day out and hold fundraisers and invite them to big parties and connect them with the right people, and they just got a huge feather in their cap. But what nobody's taking into account is, this is great. Okay, so America can sue Saudi Arabia for things that Saudi Arabian citizens may or may not have done or helped do involved in the Twin Tower attack. But has anybody thought about what happens now that the reverse is going to happen? Because what do you think is going to happen the first time somebody finally says, hey, let's stick it to these Arabs and let's go sue Saudi Arabia? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think Saudi Arabia is going to sit down for that? Do you think they're just going to be like, oh, yeah, we fully understand that our people have done something bad and therefore we're just going to hand you all this money? No. They're going to start looking for any little excuse they can find to return the favor and start suing people that have done things to them that they don't like, or soldiers that have done things that were inappropriate, etc. And then we're going to have to be left as a country holding that bag. And that's exactly what I mean by unintended consequences. This is one of those things that I talk about all the time. Look, for all of you right now that are pounding your chest and you're like, oh my God, this is great, this is great. If you're just because you're okay with it now, when the shoe is suddenly on the other foot, and all of a sudden the other side that we're now ready to go lawsuit crazy against has the same general power and can turn that back on us, are you still going to be just as happy? I think the answer to that question is probably no.
Right. Well, and I also think you said something a minute ago that I was going to comment on. What was it? Well, I do think that they're not only just like lawsuit happy, but it does kind of, I think it's kind of a show thing. I mean, they can't really expect to get anything from this, right? I mean, it's like you said, it's either going to get turned around on us or it's not going to really go anywhere. One thing, as with everything, or I do wish was the case, was that none of it had anything to do with the federal government or our president or our Congress deciding whether an individual could or couldn't do this thing. But that's the world we live in, and especially with international relations, that's the road we have to go down. But I think that it, especially the vote in the Senate, was more of an emotional vote and a show vote than it was really about the likelihood of winning any sort of lawsuit against these countries.
I mean, because let's face it, everybody knows that the lawsuit's not going to be worth the paper it's printed on by the time it's all said and done. Because let's not forget that at this point we're looking at a really good shot of being involved in something. Anybody remember the TPP? That is still being bandied about and is still in the works, and nobody's really talking about it right now because we're too busy watching two monkeys and one in a pantsuit and one in a regular suit trying to fornicate a football at the same time, and it's just fun and entertaining. And I'm sorry, that's still my synopsis of the debate.
Funny.
But yeah, so I mean, just that, never mind that, and let's not forget the fat shaming of the beauty pageant contestant, etc. Because there aren't really important things that are still going on that nobody's talking about. Like, again, this lawsuit bill that is now apparently going to become a law because it's been overridden. And, I just have to say this because this is probably the only time I'm ever going to have to say this. But damn you for making me side with Old Barry Big Ears. Because I've never agreed with that man about anything in the nearly 8 years he's been in office. And for once, I'm having to side with him. And for once, he's not wrong. This was a terrible idea.
Right. I know. That always is frustrating. And, I think this was probably one of those things that he didn't want to have to be on that side of. I mean, who wants to be looking at 9/11 families saying, you can't do that because it will have these consequences or it will be problematic in these ways? Who wants to look at the families of people that lost someone in our greatest, national tragedy and say, no, sorry, you can't get reparations from that through these avenues? I don't think this is something that he chose lightly to go up against. And I think also, again, and that kind of leads me to where I say, I think some of these people just fight it just because of his name, just because it is Obama.
It's interesting that you say that, because this morning when I'd heard the news, because I was a little behind, I actually tweeted out that I don't think we thought this through very well, which is kind of the way I opened the show. And I actually started seeing people tweet out the fact that they don't care about the unintended consequences because we just stuck it to Barry.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I was saying about this, that wing of the Republican Congress that I think is always kind of like that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's not even really just the Republican Congress anymore. It's almost everywhere. I mean, that's the problem. Up until now, everybody's talked about how to win elections, the Democrats are willing to use scorched earth policies to make sure that nobody else but them is left standing. So my question is, when both sides are now employing the same scorched earth tactics, what's going to be left to save when we're willing to destroy everything to be the last person standing?
Right. I mean, it's nothing. Nothing's left to say.
It's just a thought that's been bugging me all day ever since I saw all these people start chiming up with, "Who cares, Rick? We stuck it to Barry. We finally stuck it to Obama. We'll deal with the rest of it later." I'm like, this is what has gotten us here. You guys have become so driven by emotion, so angry over all the different things that you feel this government has done wrong over the last 8 years. And I'm not saying you're wrong for feeling that way. I'm not saying there are not things this government has done that they shouldn't have done. We could spend 3 hours listing off all the things that shouldn't have happened under this administration and some of the things that shouldn't have happened under the last administration, and we probably still wouldn't get all the way through the list, even if we expanded to a 3 hour and just ran all the way through. But that's not the point. When you're willing to destroy everything you believe in just to stick it to the other side, we've already lost. It's what I've been saying this entire cycle. We have become something that our party, and I'm still calling them our party because yes, I've left, but in my heart, I'm still a Republican. I'm registered as a libertarian, but in my heart, I do believe that the Republican Party used to stand for something. They don't anymore. At this point, all they're concerned about is victory. All their talking heads and their political voices are only concerned about victory. Their party heads are only concerned about victory. But when you start looking at victory as the end-all, be-all, ultimate goal, and you don't pay attention to what you're having to do to get there, and by the time you're finally standing there and you're like, woohoo, we got the White House, and the rest of the country's in a complete shambles and your party's completely destroyed, what difference is it really going to make?
Yep. I mean, I really do agree with you. And I'm with you. I continuously still say we and our because it's old habits die hard.
I mean, come on.
I like you.
As soon as I was old enough to vote, I registered Republican.
To stand for and
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Right. No, totally. That's exactly right. And myself too. And I still believe in the principles that brought me to them in the first place, and I think it's just gotten a little...
Well, it's gotten a little bit crazy is what it's gotten. So... And here goes the Skype monster again. Nice. All right, so we're trying to see if we can get a connection back with her. I'm going to keep talking about this whole scenario with the Obama situation. I'm really starting to think that her Skype and my Skype don't like each other because this is kind of becoming a weekly thing. All right, so we're going to take an impromptu break while I see if I can get her back because she's not coming back right away. So we'll be right back here in just a couple minutes.
Then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.
I'm not ready to end the fight. I'm not ready to back down. 'Cause I've been through hell and I don't have time to go round and round and round. It's too late to turn back now. You know I wouldn't if I could. 'Cause I'm proud as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of a short story through to the line edits of a full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your website, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Cause I'm proud as hell, I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
Okay, so we think we figured it out. It's this whole, they're about to turn the internet over to a foreign body and it's making it start running like crap because, Skype does not seem to like us anymore. So I'm blaming this whole internet turnover. Nobody can convince me otherwise. Okay.
I'll go with that.
So anyway, we seem like we have a connection again, so we're going to keep on rolling with things. We've actually kind of taken the break early, so I guess we don't necessarily have to take another one, but we can keep one in the pocket in case something else comes up. So anyway, where were we at when I lost you? Because I was talking and then you were gone. I'm not sure.
I don't even remember anymore. We were both just annoyed with the state of things and the yelling into, the kind of like old man yells at cloud type deal with where we've gotten with politics.
That's a pretty apt description of how I feel lately, because I feel like all I'm really accomplishing is yelling into the wind. And
exactly. It's just to oppose them, and that's just not getting us anywhere.
And it's one of those things where we have all of these people that have such bigger followings and bigger voices, and the first thing they did was jump on the Trump train and go, woohoo, come with us. I mean, I saw, and I don't usually mention this guy by name, but he's really starting to annoy me. So Bill Mitchell, who claims to have like the number one talk show on Spreaker. First of all, that reminds me of someone else I know that just claimed to be like the number 3 conservative on Twitter. How the heck would you even possibly know that, for one? Second of all, the dude was like all over Twitter talking about the fact that he doesn't understand why it is that we can't use, how exactly did he term it? What was it? Self-selected internet polling as opposed to polls run by a bunch of liberals of a small select group. Well, Bill, let me explain it to you, since you don't seem to understand. When is the last time anybody listening has actually done an online poll? Does it only let you click the button once, or can you refresh it and click it as many times as you want? Question number one. Question number two. When it's a political poll and it's involving United States politics, is there any possible way for them to verify before you click the button that, number one, you're not in Canada or freaking Great Britain or Russia or wherever else before you click that button? No, they can't do that. So there's several different reasons why these supposed vaunted self-selected polls really shouldn't be being used, because they're skewed. Because usually, first of all, I mean, if Drudge puts out a poll, let's be honest, what type of people are usually looking at Drudge, especially lately? Trump supporters. So are you going to be a little skewed? And then what happens when you get maybe 100 Trump supporters on a poll that click the button 100 times, and suddenly 100 Trump supporters become 10,000 Trump supporters?
My
I wonder.
favorite thing I saw towards him today was Rhino Pundit Twitter. He said, I fail to understand why I should accept the opinion of a pollster with a 500 sample over a self-selected poll of 1 million, that same tweet that Bill Mitchell put out. And he quoted it and said, we have neither the time nor the crayons to explain it to you. And I thought that was hilarious.
But look at the guy's account. And at first I thought maybe he was one of those guys that goes and pays for followers, because I can't imagine that many people paying attention to him. But apparently he's not. I verified him. He's got a little bit, but then so do a lot of us. Every once in a while, if you sneak in, we got to go clean the house. But I mean, look, and even his Spreaker numbers, they're not terrible, which means he's got lots of people listening to him. Why is it that the people that don't even understand how this stuff works or why it should work are the ones that are like, oh, well, why can't I just take people's words for polls that they get on the internet and click it as many times as they want and say that Trump's going to win?
Because Trump rots the brain. I mean, I think it just boils down to that. He rots your brain out. I mean, it's some sort of disease. It gets in there and it wraps around every corner of your brain, and you can't think logically anymore. It's crazy. And so all of those people are the ones that are following him, and know that some of these people that have just had crazy numbers jump up and all sorts of other kinds of celebrity status launched, all they had to do was say the T word. All they had to do was jump on the Trump train. It's amazing how that populist wave has it keeps building and building and building. It's crazy.
I mean, it really is. At first, I really didn't pay that much attention to it, but the scary thing is, I know some people that started really getting serious into talk shows around the same time that I really started getting serious into talk shows. And they've converted to Trump supporters. And in just the few months since they've done that, their followings have tripled, if not quadrupled, in a lot of ways. And it's this populist wave of anger that is feeding this stuff. But here's my thing. Yeah, for now, they look really popular, because that was another thing that Bill Mitchell put out. You know, the other day he was like, well, nobody really listens to Levin anymore. Glenn Beck's career's in the toilet, and Sean Hannity's numbers are through the stratosphere. So you tell me who's making the better decisions, or some crap like that. And I'm just like, well, yeah, maybe for the moment they seem that way. But what's going to happen when, one, he loses, or two, the even worse scenario is that he gets into office and does every single thing, or a good portion of every single thing, that those of us that have been yelling that he was the wrong choice do, and he does those things. Because that one of those two things is going to happen, because there is no way, if he gets into the White House, that he's going to be the conservative savior that a lot of these people want to think that he is, because he doesn't think that way.
Well, yes, and that's been pointed out time and time again, and so many of these people don't even care, though. That doesn't even matter. They just want change. They want an outsider. They want someone who talks straight, shoots from the hip, which, I mean, I don't even understand how they can still keep saying that with things like happened the other night, where he won't even admit that he had the sniffles. Like, he just lies to lie. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason for it. But none of that really matters. They've latched on. They are semi-obsessed, or completely obsessed in some cases, with him and his celebrity, and you just can't, there's no evidence you can show them or anything you can really say that's going to make them change their mind. And they believe him when he says things like the best, the greatest, you know, the bigly best there ever were. That they just believe every time he says that. I don't know that there's much of anything anyone can do or say to change that.
You know, no, I mean, I agree with everything that you just said, but something just dawned on me, because everybody's been throwing this word bigly around, and I noticed the other night at the debate, he kept trying to say big league, and it kept sounding like bigly. So I'm wondering if he was just talking so fast that nobody could tell.
That one sentence I actually did go over again, and he says bigly something, big league. I think he did actually use bigly. It's going to be a bigly blah, 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 blah. And then at the end of the sentence, he said, you know, and it will be big league. So I think he did both of them, because I know that for sure he has admitted before that he likes that word. And why can't he make up a word? Like, of course, he's Trump. I mean, he's the guy that you can show him a video of him saying something, and he said, "I never said that." And you go, "But this is the video of you saying it." I don't care. You know, I mean, you just can't even argue with them, which is part of what has made this game so unstoppable and so maddening.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just completely insane that you can actually show him video of something that he said, and he's like, "I never said that." So, do you have a doppelganger that nobody knows about? Because that looked and sounded remarkably like you.
He doesn't care. Yeah, he just stares blankly and says, "No," and then, until they move on. I mean, it's really brilliant as a way to just deflect and not have to face any hard truths, but also quite insane.
So speaking of deflecting and not having to face any hard truths, let's go ahead and segue to story number 2. So everybody, you know, we've been talking about Hillary and all these terrible things that Hillary's done, and I'm not discounting anything that she may or may not have done, including and the fact that she was using an unsecured server to transmit email and possible locations for an ambassador. I still personally hold her accountable for Benghazi. But let's face it, at this point, not sure anything's ever going to come of that. And we actually have some audio that I'll be using on Monday's America Off the Rails show to actually kind of go over some of the reasons why I think we've been had and why this was all staged. But we'll talk about that more on Monday's show. But why I bring this up now is because we've seen all the things that she's done that are so terrible, but we've been telling you for months that there were things that were going to come out about Trump that were going to be just as bad, if not worse. So there is a story coming out about one of his business dealings that has him apparently breaking the Cuban embargo for business and for profit.
Right. So this was reported in Newsweek that Trump hotels and casino resorts paid a consulting firm in Cuba to help the company in the event that the U.S., that we did lift sanctions and restrictions and were able to actually do business there. The consulting firm, this is from ABC News, the consulting firm and the Trump company later attempted to cover up the transaction by making it look like legal spending for a charity. The Clinton campaign, as obviously latched onto this and attacked him over, possibly violating the Cuban embargo. But this is not just like when you see, okay, paid a consulting firm, some people might be thinking of a number of like a couple $1,000s. Apparently, it's upwards of $68,000 for investigating potential business opportunities. That's a lot of money. That's not just cash at a firm and let them kind of feel some stuff out. I mean, that's big bucks to be spending over there where you are that you're trying to cover up and not have be found to be illegal.
I mean, exactly. Yeah, it's just one of those things, and I think, again, what has me so incensed about this is you see all the Trump supporters, because, this is all over social media, and the first thing they're doing is, oh, look, Hillary Clinton, who's broken all these laws and broken all these rules, is pointing out when somebody else may or may not have broken the law. Look, I don't have an issue with... What I have an issue with is, yeah, maybe she's not the best person to be throwing the stone, but is there validity in what she's saying? Because if there is, then how can you continue to hold her feet to the fire for all the things that she's done wrong and possibly excuse him for something that he's done wrong? At this point, both parties are just as hypocritical as the other, because when it's the other side that's doing unethical things and breaking laws and everything else, oh my God, that's terrible. When somebody on the side that you believe in does it, oh, that's for the greater good.
Well, and I think that it's important to note that a lot of these people were reacting in a way in which because she's the one that tweeted out, to her millions of followers, she tweeted this out, and it kind of seemed like it came from Hillary's campaign. While she obviously highlighted the article that she did put out there, Newsweek is the one who printed this. So this came from Newsweek. This did not come from Hillary Clinton's campaign initially. This is a report in Newsweek. And even when Marco Rubio was asked about this, because obviously, he's going to be someone, Florida and Cuban relations, to have to comment on this. He even in his answer was like, well, if the Clinton campaign is putting this out, and if it's true. I mean, even at the time when he first answered, he didn't know that it was from Newsweek. So I think that is kind of flying over the head and incensing a lot of anger with people because I think it's like, oh, well, Hillary is saying this, and who is she? Also, she's a liar, so she's a crook and she's corrupt. And she has a lot of questionable things, but it did not originate with her. So I think that's something that people need to understand is that, of course, her campaign capitalizes on it and is going to throw it out there and use it to the best of her ability. But this is actually comes from a reputable source.
Well, no, and exactly. And I think that's the majority of my point when it comes to all this is, the simple fact of the matter is, look, I understand that she's not the best person. And again, she shouldn't be the one possibly throwing the first stone in regards to this. But at this point, this is exactly what we told everybody was going to happen. They were going to find things that made Donald Trump look as bad, if not worse, than Hillary Clinton. And in some ways, that's already happening. And now we're just now getting to the 40 most busy days. Sorry, suddenly English language has escaped me. Of the campaign season, and it's only going to get worse from here, because if they've already brought this out, I guarantee you there's worse.
No, absolutely, and this has been said all along, and I think even today, another thing that came out about Trump's foundation is that the Washington Post reported that the state attorney general's records found that the foundation never obtained the registration required of charities that solicit more than $25,000 per year. If the state attorney general finds that Trump's foundation raised this sum or more from public donations, it could be ordered to cease fundraising activities or even refund all the money it's raised since. So, some of this is going to, there are always going to be skeletons in closets of people that have just had corporations have done business on the large scale that Trump has. There's going to have been mistakes made. There's going to have been things that weren't filed correctly at a time or two. All of that kind of thing can be fairly, overlooked in routine in business. But some of this seems, with bad intent. And that's what you have to look at and be worried about. And there's a lot of evidence that he has had ethically questionable, issues throughout his career.
No, I mean, and exactly. And, it's one of the things that I keep pointing out because everybody keeps talking about what a corrupt politician Hillary Clinton is, and that we can't really call Trump a corrupt politician because he's never actually been in politics. And I keep pointing out, look, in my book, corruption is corruption is corruption. If you can find corruption in his business dealings, it means that he's just as likely to be a corrupt politician if given the chance. And how many different things are we seeing now, day in and day out, that point to some form of corruption? Some of it not on a large scale. Others pretty damning, like this whole Cuban embargo thing. And like I said, if they're already bringing this out with about 40 days to go, then I'm sure there is worse waiting in the wings, because it's the same thing that we're going back to the same thing that we've been talking about all cycle. The conservatives let the media pick their candidate. This time it wasn't necessarily the mainstream media that did it, but it was media sites like Fox News, and the Drudge Report, and all these others that lined up and said, okay, Trump's the guy because Trump's not going to go Mitt Romney and he's not going to take any prisoners and there's no way that we're going to lose with this guy. Yeah, actually there is, because you didn't vet him first.
Well, I do think, though, that some of the mainstream does have responsibility, too, because I think that they thought it was such a spectacle and they thought it would be hilarious if this guy represented the GOP and that there'd be no way he could possibly win against, Hillary. And as they're finding, as he creeps closer to her in the polls, and as there seems to be some just unsettlingly, unsetting. Why can I not talk?
It's my fault.
Yeah, you transferred it to me. You gave it to me. Unsettling things coming out of some of the swing states of, some indications that he may actually be gaining some ground there. That, this is their fault, too, because they thought this would be funny. They thought that it would represent Republicans terribly, which it does. They thought that it would destroy the Republican Party. And they didn't vet him either because they hoped that they could just do it after he won the primaries and was up against Clinton, and then she'd win in a landslide. And it's just not looking like that any longer. So I do think that they bear some responsibility, but ultimately I feel like it falls on the GOP and on conservative media that took the bait and fell for the con.
No, and I agree. And I don't necessarily want anybody to think that I'm giving the mainstream media a pass. I'm just saying at this point, usually by now, our side of the argument with our media sources would have at least been trying to do something. They did a better job vetting McCain and Romney than they did with Trump. And we still lost.
Right.
Okay, so
right.
We're down to about 15 minutes. We've got at least two other stories I wanted to touch on. Now, we're going to kind of take things in a bit of a fun direction for the rest of the show. At least I kind of think so. I'm getting a little burned out with being so mad about politics all the time. Did you know it's National Coffee Day?
No. Is it?
You didn't know it was National Coffee Day?
How did I not know this? I haven't been on Twitter enough. I've been doing that crazy thing where you like hang out with family and enjoy the moment and aren't on social media. It's weird.
You found a time machine and were transported back to the 80s. Is that what you're telling me?
Pretty much. That's pretty much been today.
Oh, so yeah, anyway, so it is National Coffee Day. I have been celebrating by making sure that each cup of coffee I had was Irished. No judgments, the world's gone to hell, I can have some Irish in my coffee.
Do that all day.
Yeah, I mean, I can't do it all day because, I do still have a day job. But when I was away from home, there was sure some Irish in my cup of coffee that I had once I got home. But yeah, so anyway, National Coffee Day. I celebrated it by drinking lots and lots of coffee. So to me, I guess every day should be National Coffee Day because there's really not a day that I can go without coffee or people might die. Just being completely honest.
Yeah, I drink my fair share, so I'm with you there.
All right, and last bit of fun news, actually also disappointing and frustrating news, is apparently NASA has decided they needed to mess with my horoscope. They have added another constellation, and I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that name. I don't care. But thanks to them adding that constellation, or I guess the constellation's always been there. It's just apparently, according to the article, there have always been 13 signs, but 12 would really only fit in well since there's only 12 months in the year. So the folks that came up with astrology decided to drop that 13th constellation, and I guess NASA, in their infinite wisdom, has decided to put it back in. And I'm not even again saying the name of this constellation because thanks to this constellation, I'm now officially supposed to be a Taurus, not a Gemini. I'm not changing. I don't care. I'm just not.
Yeah. I think it makes me, oh shoot, what does it make me? I can't remember. I'm trying to look here. I'm typically a Capricorn, which if you know me and look at any of the obvious things about Capricorn, pretty much me to a T. So, but it made me into something else, and I can't remember what it is, and I don't care because I'm not going to say that that's what I am now. I'm just not.
And that's the thing that I guess doesn't make any sense to me because there's always been this, I guess when I was younger, maybe there was this concept where there were two different types of calendars that were used for the astrological signs because on one it had me as a Gemini and the other it had me as a Taurus, and then I guess at some point they phased completely over to the one that had me a Gemini, and I guess somebody decided we need to change back. But back when I was kind of confused because I would look at one, it would have me in one, and the other would have me in the other. I looked at the differences between the two signs, and there's no way I'm this one over here. This one over here describes me to a T. And I mean, Gemini's not exactly the best sign. I mean, it's the sign of a crazy person. But I mean, who's to say I'm not? I'm just saying.
Crazy, eh?
Yeah, well, maybe a little bit. So no, not really, but the easiest way to describe a Gemini would basically be like the astrological sign of multiple personalities, because we can like flip on a dime. And for anybody who knows a fellow Gemini that I hang out with on a regular basis, Miss Polita Bunny, you definitely know that is true.
Yes, I think that she embodies that quite well. Maybe people don't see it in other realms as much, but when you talk to her on a daily basis, that's when when some of these things about signs, which I mean I don't really, but when those kinds of things come up is when you know someone personally and talk to them daily that you're like, oh, okay, I see that. Oh, that makes sense.
See, and actually with when her birthday is, I don't honestly think she was impacted. I think she's
one of the few.
I think. I honestly don't remember the exact day she was born, and even if I did, I wouldn't want to give it out on the air. But it slid like Gemini to like June 11th or some crap, and I'm like, that puts me over to Taurus, and I don't like Taurus. My wife is a Taurus. Taurus fits my wife. Taurus does not fit me.
Yeah, I think it ends up making me a Sagittarius, which I want. Not up my alley, but whatever.
I mean, it's not. I mean, like you said, this isn't really something that I believe in, and it's not a big deal. But it's the little things. It's all these crazy changes. I mean, first my party goes nuts. Now they screwed with my sign. What the hell?
Hey, and before that, they took away Pluto.
Well, they didn't take away Pluto. Pluto just got demoted. I
know, but still, it got demoted from the solar system. Everything I learned as a kid. You know what else that happened with? It happened with the Brontosaurus. And they brought it back. Said, never mind, we were right after all. So they took it away for about 15 years or something. Said, no, there actually is a Brontosaurus after all. They were putting some things together wrong. So, yeah, but I don't like this kind of change.
There's just certain things that need to be left alone. My constitution and my astrological sign are two of the things that just must be left alone. I'm just saying. I mean, this is not cool. I mean, you're all of a sudden I'm supposed to be a Taurus, and I'm just like, no, I don't even like the gun Taurus, much less the sign. And I'm a gun guy.
It's one of those things that for a long time has been an easy, having worked, in bars and restaurants for forever, it was an easy go-to to trip up someone that you thought was maybe trying to use a fake ID or was underage, but the ID still looked valid. You'd say, what's your sign? And if they couldn't automatically name it, then you're like, okay, especially females. That doesn't work as tried and true on males, but I know, sorry, I'm being sexist here, but
no, it's just because we're better liars.
But especially females. And so now it's like, oh, that's just going to mess that all up. I'm like, oh, well, the old chart or the new chart? So I guess I'll have to figure something else to have my door guys.
No. It'll still work because anybody below the age of 21 will be the one that's like the old chart or the new chart. Because anybody that's as old as us is like, F the new chart, man. So that you still have a way to figure it out because you'd be like, hey, man, what's your sign? Dude, and then you're going to be like, the old chart or the new chart? And you'll be like, yep, that's fake. Nope, can't get in.
Move along, bucko. Well, did you see that California is criminalizing child prostitution?
So wait, child prostitution wasn't illegal in California before now?
No, it was, but they are, for kids under 18, they are, so that they won't have records, like if they were prostituting.
Wait, so I missed part of one of the syllables. You said they're decriminalizing. Okay.
Decriminalizing.
Okay.
And so advocates say that this is good because they need to be treated as victims, not as criminals. I mean, they're under 18 and involved in prostitution. And I think they're probably right about that. But what law enforcement and advocates against human trafficking and stuff say is, but now this makes it harder when they can't arrest them for these quote unquote crimes and detain them to get them away from their abusers. If they are being forced into it. So it's kind of a little controversial thing that's happening. So we'll have to kind of keep an eye on that and see how it all goes down. But I see both sides. It's just kind of scary.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I agree with that based on my background. I mean, I understand the reason why they're thinking this is going to be a good thing, but let's put the shoe on the other foot for a second. How many times have we been able to take down somebody higher up in some sort of a child pornography, child prostitution ring because we were able to get a hold of one of the younger kids, put some pressure to them, got them to flip in exchange for not having a criminal record? I don't think we necessarily need to take that off the table because it works. Not only that, but the part of it that you just brought up that I hadn't even thought about, where they could be like, if nothing else, they can charge them, hold them for 72 hours, get them some time to get away from these people, see if they're willing to talk, and then determine what they're going to do next. If we take that off the table, then it's just going to make it that much harder to find our ways into things like this and be able to get it broken up.
Right. And also, I think something that's overlooked is that maybe you need to figure out, maybe on if instead of decriminalizing these things, which, it takes away certain tools for law enforcement, like you're saying, that maybe you need to work with the DA's office so that they are having a lower rate of prosecution of these kinds of things if these kids, even minimally cooperate. Maybe charges not being as harsh, or because that's who it's up to. It's up to the DA's office most of the time on whether they're going to actually pursue anything on a 15-year-old prostitute. I mean, they don't have to, and I think they probably don't more often than not. But like you said, it can absolutely be a tool of the department to use to be able to infiltrate something that's very, very disgusting and kind of the worst people that you want to be able to break their ring and get them off the street.
I'd like to do more than break their ring.
I know. No. Well, I didn't mean to bring us down on a sour note. I just saw that and was like, "Whoa, wait, what?" Of course,
no,
the headline
it's
was
all right.
A little more.
All right, so anyway, believe it or not, we are about out of time. So why don't we do what we normally do at the end of the show, and you can remind folks where they can hang out with you when you're not hanging out with me.
Sure. You mostly will find me on Twitter at jhomestead, and also on Facebook, J.R. Homestead, and come read some stuff at misfitpolitics.weebly.com.
Unless she's hanging out with family, then you're not going to find her anywhere. Just saying.
That's true. That's true.
Just messing with you. All right.
Tomorrow I might be on the lake, so everyone might be SOL.
Really? You're going to go out on the lake and leave me with the craziness known as Twitter on a Friday?
Yep. Sorry about that.
I thought we were friends. All right. So anyway, I am Rick Robinson. I'm kind of one of the head honchos around these parts, and you can interact with me several different ways. Easiest way, quickest way is Twitter. Recommend that you go to AOTR_host. If you're old school, you like to shoot off emails, I do answer those occasionally. You have two options, Ricky@thesparkradionetwork.com or Rick@KLRNradio.com. And if you don't have Twitter and you don't like email, you can always go to Facebook. You can find two pages that talk about me. One is America Off the Rails, the radio show page. You can go give that a like. You can also find my professional profile at www.facebook.com/Rowdy Ricky Robinson. Shoot me a friend's request. We'll talk, we'll chat, we'll hang out. Although, honestly, I'm only on that profile about once or twice a month. So I still honestly recommend that if you want to communicate on a regular basis, and I do like to talk to you folks. I do it all the time. I just usually prefer Twitter because my phone's always on me and it's kind of easy to keep up. But on that note, we have got to get out of here. Actually, we had a technical issue today, so for those of you that were tuning in looking for America Off the Rails, I promise I was still here, just for some reason you guys couldn't hear the show. So we're going to mix things up a little bit tonight. We're going to do a live run with Jackson Richmond. Almost called him Andrew Jackson. Man, I am tired. Jackson Richmond, who is an author and actually does a show with us on Sundays when it's running through his radio station in his university. And we're going to actually have him on to kind of talk a little bit more about the debate that was Monday night, because the panel got a little raucous and he kind of got drowned out. So I'm going to give him a chance to come on, kind of give a little bit more of his opinions. And then, of course, there's other news of the day that I'm sure we'll get to as well. But we have got to get out of here to get ready for that. So stay tuned. A special live episode in the evening time again of America Off the Rails. We'll be back here in just a couple minutes with my guest, Jackson Richmond. Have a great night, folks. In case it's too late for you, don't forget you can always catch it tomorrow in its regular time slot. We'll be running it there too. Or, of course, the Memorex versions that are pretty much everywhere now, thanks to Jess. There's so many now, I can't even list them all. We're out, folks. Have a good night. Take care. God bless.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same.